An 18-year-old man has been found guilty of murdering a 15-year-old schoolgirl in South London in September 2023. Hassan Sentamu repeatedly stabbed Eliane Andam in a row over belongings of his former girlfriend outside a shopping centre in Croydon 2 years ago. Sentamu had already admitted manslaughter, claiming that he was not in control of his actions because of his autism. But the jury didn't accept his defence of diminished responsibility. After deliberating for nearly 12 hours, they returned a majority verdict by 10-2 at the Old Bailey in central London. Our UK correspondent Adina Campbell, who's been following the trial, reports on the background.
Eliane Andam, an aspiring lawyer, described by her family as beautiful, outspoken and respectful.
She was always reading. You know, she's a very, very academically always reading.
And justice was really important to her.
For her, yeah. She wanted to become a lawyer, human rights lawyer.
At the age of 15, she was murdered by this man.
I'm looking for someone who's just stabbed someone. Need to see name, say something else, Scott.
Hassan Sentamu, seen in this police body cam footage as he's arrested less than 90 minutes after repeatedly stabbing the teenager with a kitchen knife in broad daylight.
I didn't even do nothing, bro.
Officers say Sentamu, who was 17 when he murdered the schoolgirl, had blood on his hands and trainers.
Urgent assistant, King Henry's Drive near the park.
Eliane Andam was a close friend of Hassan Sentamu's ex-girlfriend. In her last Snapchat video, she talks about the couple's recent split and how he failed to return her friend's belongings, including a teddy bear.
Yes, sister. He didn't even bring the stuff.
But Eliane's decision to stand up for her friend during a group meeting ended up costing her her life. This CCTV footage shows the moment Eliane takes back the bag her friend had handed to Sentamu with his possessions in and runs off with it. Seconds later, he's chasing her with the knife outside a shopping centre and corners her near a wall. Passengers on a nearby bus watch in horror as he stabs her multiple times in the neck, shoulder and leg.
It didn't make sense to me because looking at the time, she should be in school. So I said, she's in school. So what do you mean something bad has happened to her? What, in the school? And she said no. And I went on the internet because that's the only thing I can do. And it says a girl has been stabbed in Croydon.
Community leader Anthony King was one of the first eyewitnesses on the scene where a mural of Eliane was unveiled last September.
I still have flashbacks. Yeah, I do hear the sound of the girls screaming out that day as the news was broken to them. But standing here, it's like I still feel the blood screaming. I still feel that the blood is speaking of Eliane because there was no reason for her to have to lose her life on these streets.
We see him discarding items in a bin. We later find out that that's the 2 pairs of gloves and the face mask that he'd taken out with him. We see him continuing to run away, and he then tried to hide and dispose of the knife, the murder weapon, in a front garden.
During the trial, the court heard that Hassan Sentamu had been diagnosed with autism spectrum disorder when he was 14. He'd also spent some of his teenage years in foster care, a pupil referral unit, and in a special educational needs school, following reports of self-harm, suicidal thoughts and violence with knives.
But the jury did not believe his autism led to diminished responsibility, and he's now facing a life sentence in prison.
How do you want people to remember Eliane?
I want people to always know that a very beautiful girl has been lost.
Adina Campbell, BBC News.
As the jury delivered their verdict of murder, there were shouts of yes and murderer from the public gallery. Members of Eliane's family hugged as they left the courtroom. And a little later, Eliane's father, Michael Andam, gave this statement outside the Old Bailey.
On September 27, 2023, our world was shattered and our hearts were broken by the senseless and violent loss of of our beloved daughter, Eliane Andam. At just 15 years old, she had her whole life ahead of her, filled with hopes and dreams for the future, all cruelly taken away from her and from us. Her death has left a void in our lives that can never be filled. This trial has been our fight for justice, forcing us to confront the devastating details of Eliane's final moment, details that will remain with us forever. While today's verdict acknowledges the full extent of his actions, it cannot bring Eliane back to us. The verdict today is the first step towards justice for Eliane, but also a message that violence and knife crime, especially towards young women, will not go unanswered. Today, we choose not to dwell on the pain of the trial, but instead to honor Eliane's memory. Eliane was a bright, kind, and loving soul who embraced life, her faith, and her belief in standing up for what was right. We think about her every moment of every day, cherishing her love and the joy she brought to everyone around her. We are deeply grateful to our family, friends, church, local community, our legal team, and the countless well-wishers who have supported us with their prayers, love, and encouragement. Your kindness has been a source of strength during this unimaginable journey. As we begin the long process of healing, we reflect on this verdict not as an end, but as a step towards change. We will continue to fight against the violence that took Eliane from us, sharing her story and working toward a world where no family has to endure such heartbreak. Thank you for standing with us in love and solidarity. We ask for privacy as we grieve and strive to find peace. Eliane's life mattered, and her legacy will live on in our hearts forever.
Eliane's father, Michael Andam. Well, the judge in this case, Mrs. Justice Bobby Chima-Grubb, has adjourned the sentencing of Hassan Sentamu until the 13th of March for reports. In court, she told the teenager, "I understand you must be very shocked and take time to get used to what has happened." Then 3 dock officers supported him as they led him down to the cells.